I strongly believe that our main purpose of life is to actually understand that life is an experience. It's similar like a dream, and our main purpose is actually to experience it. And in doing so, we need to transcend or move above the physical reality. So the moment you transcend the material world, you've actually hacked what I like to call the God code or the God frequency. And in this video, I will be explaining one principle of the universe that actually teaches us how to master the art of transcendence of the physical reality. So you might be asking, why do I need to transcend the physical reality? This is the reason why. When you transcend the physical reality, this means that you do or you effectively practice what we call the art of detachment. When you practice the art of detachment, it's the same as transcending the physical reality. And by detaching, I simply mean that you can no longer be prone to pain and suffering, because pain and suffering comes from attachment. And it comes from attachment of what? Attachment of the physical reality, or attachment of our physical identities, attachment to what we own or what we possess. Because when you become attached to what you own or what you possess, the moment you lose that same thing that you were attached to, then that is where pain and suffering comes. And this is what we want to transcend. When we realize that this is just an experience and nothing is actually real as it seems to be. This is just what we call an illusion of the third dimensional reality. And by understanding the principle of polarity, you can now fathom this simple fundamental concept. So let us actually begin. Now, we have a universal principle, and when I say a universal principle, I actually mean that this is a principle, it is a law that actually governs how reality is experienced. So you need to understand these laws. We have natural laws, we have spiritual laws, we have moral laws. You need to understand your universal principles that actually govern nature, because you are subject to these principles and these laws. And he who masters the seven hermetic principles will have what we call the master key. But in this session, I'll be talking about the principle of polarity. So what is the principle of polarity? The principle of polarity actually states that the physical reality, or everything in the physical reality, actually manifests itself into polar opposites. By polar opposites, I simply mean that it has two opposing poles. For example, we have hot and cold, we have good, we have evil, we have night, we have day, so on and so forth. So everything in the physical reality actually manifests itself into the polar opposites. So someone who does not understand how the principle of polarity actually works will be subjected to do what? To label, to judge experiences as they come. So when something pleasurable happens, they'll be happy. When something not pleasurable happens, they'll be sad. So they will be picking, labeling, and judging events. This is where we get it all wrong, or this is where the matrix now has us. Why? Because in as much as things manifesting in two polar opposites, they all come or stem from the same source energy. So the energy behind everything is one energy, but the difference is because of our perception. So if the energy of creation is the same, that creates all these experiences with the purpose or with the aim that we actually experience them, does not actually label them. The labeling now comes based on our perceptions. So for instance, or for say, something happens and you label it as negative, it means your perception of that event is that of a negative state. And if your perception of that event is that of a negative state or negative pole, it means that event will have negative implications upon you, or it will end up attracting more of those events upon you, because it's the law of attraction. You attract what you resonate with. So what you resonate with is what you tend to attract. So how do you actually now come about and master this principle of polarity? Okay, to master the principle of polarity is to become aware of your perceptions. Your perceptions are what lead to the creation of the reality that you actually experience. So if you perceive of a negative event through the eyes of neutrality, it will not have any impact upon you, because you just understand it is the same energy. It is neither good nor bad. It is the same. That is the base, or at least a higher level of understanding of the law of polarity. But enlightened masters have now ascended and know how to use the principle of polarity to the betterment of the experiences. Since the event is neutral, that is true, but also the event can be manipulated to mean whatever you want it to mean. So this is how you now transmute and transcend the physical reality. So if a negative outcome happens, now instead of perceiving it as a neutral thing, then you shift your perception and you create a kind of biased perception of it. You might say that this was necessary for my growth or betterment or for my attainment of my desired self. So instead of the outcome being of negative connotation unto you, it now becomes perceived as something which was supposed to happen, as a good thing, as a stepping stone to your success. And by doing that, you now have transmuted the pain unto joy and to peace. You have transmuted the hate unto love. And through this constant transmutation, then you end up vibrating at the highest state, which means that you end up always attracting the things which are in the desired state that you actually want. So that is just one of the 7 hermetic principles that you have to master. If you've enjoyed this episode and you'd like for me to dig into the other hermetic principles, please comment on the comment section of this video if you'd like a video about that. And I'll see you on the next one. Stay safe, stay blessed, and stay awakened. And if you'd like to work one-on-one with me in our self-mastery coaching sessions, please message me on the number on the description of this video. And also, I'll see you on the next one.